In this video, I'm going to be getting my car ready to run on a back half no prep surface. Back half meaning back half of the track, and this is on a track that is asphalt, and it is a not very sticky surface. It's a very tricky race. So I wanted to show you guys what's involved in changing the car over to that from running on radial prep. The last time the car was out, I ran a 699 in the quarter mile. Make sure you go check out my last video if you didn't see that one. That was quite the difficult journey, but we were able to get there. So anyways, now it's time to get back to my normal racing, which is no prep 8th mile. And the first race that I'm going to be participating in is going to be actually a memorial race for a very good friend of mine, one of my biggest fans that unfortunately passed away last year. That is Faustino, and there's going to be a back half race in Hobbs, New Mexico. So first of all, one of the large changes that we need to make to the car is, of course, we need to put an engine in it. So we're going to, of course, have to address that. But the first thing that I'm going to do is actually going to be a rear gear change because running the quarter mile, of course, had to have a much different gear than 8th mile, and I had a 350 rear gear in it. So I'm going to have to go ahead and pull this center section out here and get it swapped back over to my 411 gear. So I'm going to get started on that, and I'll get back with you guys soon. All right, guys, I've been very bad about updates. Not a lot of time and a whole lot to do. So right now it is actually Friday, a week before I want to be testing the car. So it is obviously nowhere near ready at the moment. I don't have a engine in it still, and I'm still working on doing the rear radiator setup, which not sure if I had mentioned that in the previous clip or not. I did end up getting the center section out, as you can see there. That's all out, and then I have done quite a bit of work on getting the rear radiator setup done. I'm definitely not satisfied with it yet. I'm new to all this fabrication stuff and welding, so make sure you comment and let me know that you are a professional welder and you're way better than me and I did everything wrong, because you know, that's what happens whenever you show any welding online. But anyways, show you guys some of what I've done. Right here I added the 16 AN bung on here. Not the prettiest weld at all, but it doesn't leak, so that's all that I really care about. And then I also made this bracket up here, which I'm not even going to use. I'm going to be remaking that out of steel, or steel, just because it's not as sturdy as I was expecting it to be. And also, one thing that I didn't really consider is not only do I have to hold the weight up, but you know, if I'm pulling 2 G's, you know, this is going to try and go backwards. And also, I didn't plan on leaving the metal straps here. This was just kind of for mock-up, and none of this stuff is even tight, so it wouldn't move around that much even if I did leave it this way. But I'm just not super comfortable in this aluminum bracket here that I built that goes from frame rail to frame rail holding up. So I'm going to remake that out of steel. Also, I want to raise this up a little bit, as you know, I was planning on having this back here closer to the same height as this bar up here. So I want to raise that up some so there's some more clearance. One thing that I am concerned about is if I happen to do a wheelie and I've got those fans hanging down right here, I don't want to drag the fans off of it or drag the radiator off of it. So yeah, I'm gonna make some changes there. I do have the transmission cooler mounted up here. It was already mounted here before, but it was hanging, the back of it was hanging down quite a bit more. So I kind of, you know, changed that up to where it will mount up a little bit higher and be out of the way of the radiator. So yeah, I've also done a little bit of work in the trunk to figure out how I'm going to do the lines. Speaking of lines, I'm also going to be doing hard lines up and down the car for the radiator lines. I priced out some different options, and the AN line was very expensive, of course, as all of you know, especially whenever you go to 16 AN and all those fittings. So I ended up deciding to just do aluminum hard line. It's just 1 inch. And I got like 16 feet of it for pretty cheap. So got this stuff here. that will be a lot cheaper and lighter weight, and also of course the aluminum is going to work just like aluminum does in a radiator and help dissipate some heat. I think we'll be good to go. Also, the fact that this radiator is almost double the size of the previous one that I had in there, that's going to help a lot. I don't really need that big of one for what I do. It's mostly just racing, but I figured if I'm going to put it in the back, I might as well go larger because I need more weight in the back anyways for the type of racing that I plan on doing now. And I do still have that front one. If I decided to do radial stuff, I could put that back on and have a better bias for that. But this is going to be better for the no prep, and I'm still going to have to add more weight pretty much every single time. So might as well go a little big on the radiator, and if I want to, I can do some street driving or whatever. So anyways, I'm going to get back to work, start changing that mount out to steel and getting this radiator set up a little bit more solid, and then I'm going to start on those hard lines. And also I had mentioned earlier in the video that I was going to have a bit of a surprise. Well, thankfully and also unfortunately, there's not going to be a surprise anymore. That surprise was going to be that I was going to have to put the 4.8 back in it, because the 377 cubic inch stock block deal that you guys see me go 6s with, I heard it on that 6-second pass and it wasn't going to be ready in time. But thankfully, it was a miracle. We were told it was going to be 3 to 4 weeks on pistons, and they showed up in 2 weeks. So that is here and ready to go. Thanks to the race shop over there, Skog and Dickey. Kurt Urban over there got this thing all put together for me, so I really appreciate them. I'll talk more about what happened to it and why it got hurt later on. Alright guys, so I went ahead and got rid of that aluminum bracket that I had made for the radiator and put together this steel bracket. So this is just 1/8 inch thick, 2 inch wide steel, and that is much more solid. This one, instead of cutting and welding, because I was worried about bending the aluminum, this one I just bent. I just put it into the vise and hit it with a hammer and bent it over, and it worked out pretty good, really. It ended up being slightly short for the distance in between the frame rails, but that actually worked out better because now it kind of has a little bit of tension on it whenever you tighten the bolts, and that makes it much more sturdy. So this is going to be no problem at all, much more sturdy than that aluminum deal. And also I came up with a idea that I think might actually be a decent idea, so we will find out. But what I did in order to make the brackets for actually mounting down to the radiator, you can see where I have these just metal straps or whatever. Right now these are obviously super weak. I just have these ones holding it on there so I can mock it up. As I showed you, I didn't like how low the back of this was hanging whenever it was mounted before, so what I did was I raised this up to where I wanted it to be, and then I measured from the top of this little piece here, the mount on the radiator, up to the bar on the top, and that ended up being 3.5 inches. So I have some 1 inch wide, 1/8 inch thick steel that I'm going to use to try and make some brackets for that, similar to the way that I did the main one that goes across. And I think it might actually be a decent idea, but we'll see if it works. So what I did is I wanted to be able to bend both sides at the same time. That way I got them the same, same length and everything like that. And so what I did was I just cut out the same pieces. Let me show you these here. And so that middle part right there is 3.5 inches, and then I left 1 inch on each side, and the inch is going to be where I will do exactly like I did on that other bracket and drill a hole in the center of it and put bolts in there. So I will bolt it into the radiator and then bolt it onto that bracket up there, and I will drill some holes in that bracket as well once I once I get to that point. But you know, in order to bend these, I'm just going to sit them in the vise on that line and hit it with a hammer, bend them over. Figure if I do them at the same time, even if I screw them up, I can screw them up equally, so it'll be mounted even. That's what matters. So anyways, I'm going to get to work on these and I'll show you guys the finished product. All right guys, a little bit of a update here. I went ahead and got these brackets built like I believe I had mentioned in the last clip, and I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. They worked exactly like I expected. They're both the same bend since I did them side by side and measured them the same, and they ended up fitting in there really well. Right now I just have these loose so I can kind of rotate this to figure out how I want these front ones to be. I've just got this ratchet strap in here to hold that all up and get it into the position that I want it. And I think that I have the length that I want these front brackets to be. So I think those are going to be about 4 3/4 inches. So what I'm going to do is the same thing I did on these. Just take a piece of this flat stuff and measure 1 inch out, mark there, and then measure 4 3/4 out, mark there, and then measure another inch, cut it, and then do the same for the other one. That way I'll have two marked the same, and then I'll bend them the same and throw them up in here and see how that works. And I went ahead and checked, I put this line that I'm going to use here on this one to make sure that it you know, didn't have too tight of a bend here. I would have liked to have the radiator slightly farther back. See, I've got a little bit of room here, and that could have gave me a little bit more clearance back here, but I don't think this is going to be an issue at all either, so should be fine there. But this line is going to fit fine right here. I'll run it up over the rear end, and then I will use some hard lines for under the body of the car, which I've gotten started on those too. And then this fitting up here, as you can see, obviously I can't get to it, but I'm going to have the swirl tank in the trunk, and I will drill a hole right here for the you know, the line to go through and connect to this from the pump. It's going to go swirl tank and then pump and then into here and then to the front of the car, and then come back and go back into the swirl tank. So all right guys, got these bottom mounts made and they turned out sweet. I'm really happy with how they came out. It's all in there good. It's super solid now. This thing is not going anywhere at all, so I'm happy with that. Now I just need to get to work on some of the lines. All right guys, so I made a little bit of progress on these hard lines. I think this is probably where I'm going to call it for now, just because they are taking a lot longer than I expected them to. It's pretty hard to weld this really thin, small little tube, especially whenever you've only been welding for like a week. I have got it where it's not leaking or anything like that. They're not the prettiest by any means, but I'm not too worried about that. Just want them to not leak, and I have tested them and they don't leak, but it has taken me way too long to make these two little tubes that I've got right here. So I've got them running back to here right now. They're not mounted up or anything, so these can move around a little bit. I was gonna go kind of back over to like this area here and then run the soft lines from there, kind of up over or however I need to, but you know, I might just call it here for now, just because it's also going to be hard to make these bend over here and avoid the wishbone as well, get up over here and all that. So for now I'm probably going to just put the heater hose that I have, and then these up here are going to go basically to right here, and I've got this one taped up because I was pressure testing it, and they're, you know, just zip tied back here, so they'll be able to move a little bit more. I don't have them properly mounted, but I think I'm going to run them just right up here to this kind of bend right here. I'll put some beads on the edges, that way I'll have something to hold on to with the clamps and the heater hose. So anyways, I'm sure I will probably end up coming back to those to maybe make some changes or make them a little bit better, but for now we're kind of short on time, so that's gonna have to do. All right guys, a little bit of a update here. Got a decent amount done. The stuff in the rear is pretty close to being done. The rear radiator setup. I have some more stuff to do in the trunk as well, and it's not gonna turn out quite as perfect as I had hoped, but you know, we're kind of in a rush right now, as I've said. So just going to have to make it work for now, and I can kind of clean it up later if I decide to. But I have the radiator all final mounted in there and stuff, and I went ahead and did a crappy paint job on these mounts and stuff that I made in order to make sure that none of that ends up getting all rusty. And then I drilled the hole for the fitting, and it fits in there really well. I ended up drilling a bit bigger of a hole than I had originally planned. I was going to go 2 inch, but I went 2.5 inch, and that was a good idea because that made it to where I'm able to get the fitting in there easier and actually kind of tighten it by hand a little bit, even from above, and then I'll be able to final tighten it down here. So that worked out pretty good. I have this line already made. I just don't have the clamps on it. Need to put some clamps on that. I have that ran up there. Goes over here. Clears pretty well, and it runs down here. I don't have it quite finished up because I don't have the wishbone in there, but it's gonna run over here. That will be out of the way. This is the lowest that this bar is gonna go at any point because this is obviously just the rear end hanging. So, but it's not gonna get into it up there. And this other one right here is just kind of jammed in there for now, just as a just because I was seeing where I was gonna put that one. That one runs down here, zip ties onto that lower mount on the for the upper control arm, and then it's going to come over here, and it's actually going to go up over here, something like that, and then goes on to this hard line that I made, and I have those ran all the way up as well to where they're going to go for now. Some not very pretty but functional beads on the end of these, and they're mounted on there pretty good though. So I will run from these up to the engine with more of this vibrant heater hose, so I think that'll work pretty well. Obviously you can see there is a visual difference in these. Alright guys, I do not remember when I updated last. I've just been working pretty hard to get this deal all put together, but we're making a lot of progress. All of the lines in the back are pretty well done for the radiator. I ran this other one up through there and put some, just some hose that I had sitting around there, so I didn't cut that line. I do need to put clamps on those, but that will be easy. I did get the center section in the car, but that is where I ran into a issue actually. I was going to put the axles in, and the passenger side, I didn't even look at it, I just threw it in there. And then on the driver's side, I happened to just look at the bearing real quick, and I ended up finding this nice little crack right there. So and this bearing, since it's cracked right there, it's able to wobble around on here some. So I don't know how long that has been like that, but I ended up overnighting some new bearings from Summit, so hopefully those will show up today, and I can get those, or get that one put on and get that all together. I did end up getting the drive shaft in as well, and I have these lines all ran the way that they're going to be for now. These are going to be tied up over here, off to the side, once I get the wishbone in there, and then of course I need to put clamps on these too, and then this runs all the way up here, and then I also have the engine in now, so we're making pretty good progress. Still a lot to go though, but it's looking pretty good right now. So back to work. I just gotta get this engine stuff all wrapped up and all the little things, but we're looking pretty good so far. I also have to wire the water pump in the back, and then also, if I have time, I'm going to throw the fans on there, but if I don't, I still think I'll be all right, because I did run my old setup without fans for a little while and it was okay. I would just put a fan on in the pits. So also, with it being a bigger radiator and being away from the heat, I think it'll probably be fine doing that if I have to. So anyways, we'll see. All right guys, it is now 6:30 in the morning. As you can see outside, it is daylight on Friday. I have not been to sleep yet, but we are almost ready to start this thing up. As you can see, I have all the turbo kit and everything on. One new thing as well is this billet center on the turbo here. I did get a 115 AR forced inductions back housing as well, but unfortunately it did not fit the same on the mount, so I'm gonna have to change that up in order to use that. That one is about 12 pounds lighter than this tile one, but we'll be all right for now. Also, it's really clear up here without the radiator. I do still need to put the mounts for the bumper on and put that stuff on, of course, but just need to put the charge pipe on and the down pipe and prime the fuel system, and then we're ready to get it started. Also put some plugs in it. I already have everything else done, as well as I put the Hoosiers on the back of it, since that's what we're going to be running. And got all the weight thrown in there, and the the water pump is wired up, the coolant tank is back here. Everything is pretty much just about good to go, other than I do need to adjust the springs on the shocks in order to get it in the right place for the weight, but we're getting there. So I'll get this thing started up, and then I'll probably end the video off there. Whoops.